I have to preface this by stating that I am a guy. I used to run quite a bit, 5 miles every day without fail. One day after finishing my run, I got a knock on the door and it was a young man, about my age at the time, 27, asking about the duplex next door as it was for rent. Typical questions about the neighborhood and the street and whatnot. I was cordial and informative, but I had some food cooking and needed to get back inside. I told him to call the number on the sign, but before I could excuse myself inside, he interjected. The conversation went something like this. Wait, do I smoke pot? Dude, are you smoking weed in there? Me, no, I'm cooking salmon. Him, oh, cause if you were smoking in there, I'd be totally down with that. By the way, you got really nice pecs. Do you work out a lot? Me, yeah, I guess. Look, I really gotta go. If you have questions about the duplex, call the number on the sign. Him, cool, thanks. I go back inside the house, he drives off. I instantly call my landlord and tell her to, under no circumstances, let that guy rent the property. He gave me the creeps. Anyway, fast forward to days, it's a Sunday night around midnight. I just finished watching a movie on the couch and I had played a lot of soccer that weekend. Generally, I found that if I can soak in a hot bath for about 20 minutes, my knees feel better in the morning. So I get up from the couch, walk by my bedroom, and notice that since I'm kind of a restless sleeper, I must have knocked the blinds and curtains adjacent to my bed askew. No biggie, I'll fix it tonight before I go to bed. Then I get into the bathroom and notice that someone must have opened the window to the bathroom when I had friends over several days ago. I don't have a bathroom exhaust fan, so it only makes sense to raise the windows and blinds a bit. I close the window and shut the blinds. I've got one of those nifty kitchen timers that I set to 20 minutes and I just sit in there, waiting for the time to expire. During this quiet time, my mind starts replaying the weekend's events and I start getting an easy feeling. Subconsciously, I felt something was wrong, but maybe I was just being paranoid. Then I thought about the bedroom window and the bathroom window both having blinds askew. And come to think of it, I believe the blinds behind the TV had one little slat that was sort of peeled up. But no, now I'm just being paranoid, and I hadn't even thought about the weird encounter from 2 days ago. But now I'm sitting in a bathtub, and the damn timer seems frozen at this point. I tell myself that I'll get up when the timer is done, put on some clothes, and take a look around the house. I snapped. 5 minutes left and I couldn't take it any longer. I don't know how to rationalize what I did next. It just seemed purely instinctual. I hopped up, got a towel around me, turned off the bathroom light, made my way quickly by the bedroom door and through the living room area. I then cut the kitchen and living room lights. In the darkness, I pulled a pair of pants up so that I was at least wearing something. I wasn't going to go back into the bedroom for a shirt. The only light on the house was my bedroom light. I went over to the front door and flung it open quickly to peer out. Nothing. Crickets. This was the middle of the summer, and the crickets were overwhelmingly loud. Louder than the sound of my squeaky storm door opening. And I decided I was being paranoid and turned to go back in. I turned, but at the last second, I had that thought. I won't be content to sleep tonight unless I properly dismiss the paranoia with a walk around the house. So I barefootedly and cautiously make my way down the front porch stairs and down the sidewalk to the side of my house where the bedroom windows glow. The front of the house is definitely clear. I tiptoe to the corner of the house to get a view of the side of the house. As I peer around the corner, not 20 feet away from me, I see the stranger from 2 days ago, his face glued to the bedroom window, his hand in his shorts, and he is masturbating furiously. I'm instantly enraged. Apparently, he's completely unaware that I have exited the house, much less flanked him. I decided in that instant to surprise him. The following conversation was a mix between my anger, his fear, and mostly strangely of all, the feeling of amusement that this is actually happening to me. Keep in mind, the conversation doesn't really make a lot of sense because he didn't have that much time to think. And it really couldn't have been more than 15 to 20 seconds before the whole ordeal was played out. Me, you sick fuck. Him, surprised and mortified. Oh, shit. Me, I'm going to catch you and beat the shit out of you. Him, you don't know me? Backing away. Me, aggressively approaching. I know exactly who you are, and I'm going to catch you and beat the shit out of you. Him, transitioning from backing away to turning away and starting to run. Please don't hurt me. I'm so sorry. I'm so drunk. I'm so sorry. Please don't hurt me. At this point, it's an all-out chase across the neighbor's yard. I'm wearing nothing but a pair of warm-up pants, but I'm gaining on him. I was playing soccer daily at the time, so I was definitely going to catch him, but he made it easy. I chased him across one graveled driveway, which wasn't fun, but I was on his heels by the time he reached the second one, and he took a nasty fall right into the middle of the gravel. At this point, I nearly kicked him across the face with my shin, but I suppressed the urge. I need my license to practice my profession in my state, and I've already chased this guy across someone else's property, not to mention threats. Also, quite pathetically, he's crying and bleeding and pleading with me in a very effeminate voice. A completely different voice from the only other encounter. I tell him to get up. At this point, he knows he's caught, so he's completely compliant. Well, kind of. I ask him where he parked. He lied and said a few blocks down. I text his keys from him and tell him we're going to his car. I ask him his name. He tells me. We walk about 30 feet and he stops and says, "Actually, this is my car." Wow, okay, so you parked basically right next to my house. So I open his cars and he's like, "What are you doing?" I explain to him that there's no way for me to know where he is, who he is. He has no wallet with him, and at this point, I've got his cell phone and keys. I open his glove box hoping to find some real ID. Bingo. I found a receipt for a tire rotation or something. The car shown on the receipt matches the car he's driving, but the name doesn't. I call him by the name on the receipt and he starts crying again and apologizing about lying about his name. At this point, I'm convinced I have him scared shitless and I just want to go to bed. I know the cops will take hours and it's already 1 o'clock and I've got to be up early. So I take the little folder thing the receipt came in and told him to write down a confession of what he did. It was only just becoming apparent to me that not only was he a peeking Tom, he had come into my house when I wasn't there to adjust the blinds in order to see this. Anyway, I call him a sick fuck a couple more times after that dawns on me. Now I've got a written and signed confession. I write his license plate down and then I decide to make sure that I never have to see this guy again. I take his phone and write down numbers of obvious relatives. Mom, dad, uncle, someone, or another. Just a few. And then I tell him that I don't know if I'm going to call the cops, but if I ever see you again, I'm going to try to kill you. I had no such intentions. It'd be hard for me to hurt someone unless they were hurting someone I cared about, but he didn't know that. I made it clear for him that if he saw me somewhere, he'd better make sure I don't see him. Anyway, at this point he's sitting in his car as I toss the keys and the cell phone into his car and tell him to get lost. He sits in the car sobbing for a while I'm walking away, but he's got the engine started and leaving by the time I'm back in my house. At this point, I sit down and drink a beer, and then I decide I wish I had called the cops because I'm not getting any sleep. I call the cops to show them the confession and all the information. The cop who shows up writes a few things down. He tells me I should have detained him. I give him all the info. 2 days later, I call the cops and ask him about the report. No news, and no news would come. No report. Oh well, he's never coming back. Wrong. He knocks on my door about a year later. I open the door. He must have seen the anger. He backs away from the door with his hands up and says he came to apologize. Said he was very sorry. I told him I accepted his apology and to not fuck up like that again. Then he says thanks and walked away. Very strange. Here's a weird story that happened to my sister a couple years ago. Background info. She and her now husband are house sitting for my brother-in-law's uncle. The uncle is old and starting to lose it. He rents out a basement suite and a nice lady lives downstairs. She cleans the house when she is there, but he wanted my brother-in-law to come check on things and feed his old cat once in a while. Okay, so first day they go to house sit, they get in, but can't find the cat to make sure it's okay. My sister has cats and know they like to hide when they are dying, so they're all worried and looking everywhere for this cat. In all rooms, under the beds and everything. Even checked with the lady downstairs and she hasn't seen it. So my sister opens up the closet in the spare bedroom and is looking around the stuff on the floor. Moves up a couple of things and sees a set of feet on the ground in the closet, with clothes blocking anything above the feet. They have nicely painted toenails and look human, but she assumes it's a doll or something. They look in a few more places and all of a sudden the cat is in the middle of the living room just hanging out. So they lock the deadbolt and leave. Sister and her boyfriend go out for dinner and a movie and she can't stop thinking about the feet and how real they looked. My sister had started dating her boyfriend fairly recently and didn't want to seem crazy, so she didn't bring it up. But a few hours into the night she decided she needed to tell him. He decided that it's probably a doll, but he offers to go back and check anyways. When they arrive, my sister will only stay on the patio because she's scared, which makes him realize that this must be something serious. They go to get in the door, but the deadbolt is now unlocked and the handle is locked. Now, he thinks there must be someone in there. At the door, there is a fireplace, so once he's in there, he grabs a sharp poker stick from the fireplace tools and starts to sneak towards the closet. He opens the closet and sees the same set of feet with painted toenails on the floor. He pokes it lightly with the fire stick and the toes crunch shut. He proceeds to smack the foot as hard as he can with the sharp sticks and yells, "Get out of here!" Out comes a lady in her mid-30s holding the cow and a can of Coke. Turns out she was friends with the basement tenant. When she became homeless, the friend let her stay with her until she found out she was addicted to crack. Started leaving drugs around the house and had shady people coming into the house, so she kicked her out. Somehow, she got a key to the upstairs and had been staying there while the uncle was gone. Police were called and she was arrested. When I lived in South Africa, I traveled a lot with a Christian missionary slash humanitarian aid worker. He handled the spiritual stuff. I tended to work more with the local, mostly shows up people, helping them with non-spiritual issues. In July 2010, we went to a village in the middle of nowhere. As soon as we stepped out of the truck, we knew something was all wrong. We hadn't been able to contact our guy in the village all day, and there was no one at all. Piet and I went from house to house looking for, well, anyone, but everywhere was completely empty. Eventually, we saw a figure run around the corner of a building on the far side of the village. It was a young woman, stark naked, running straight for us. Her arms were flailing and she was running like an animal, occasionally dropping to all floors, then back onto her feet. As she got closer, Piet told me to get back in the truck, then he screamed at me to get in the truck. I'd seen this guy watch a Choza witch doctor burn a dozen chickens alive and not bat an eyelid, so when he lost his shit, I knew it was serious. I closed the truck door as she reached us. She was covered in blood. There were cuts and slices all over her face, arms, and breasts. One of her ears were missing. I think there was a lot of blood. Her teeth were bloody and she had a look in her eye of absolute untamed rage. The screeching sound she made was unlike anything I've ever heard before or since. I can still hear it so vividly in my mind, looking into her face, seeing her wide psychotic eyes and gaping mouth as she made that unholy sound froze me in my seat. Piet had started the truck and already started reversing up the dirt track, but she followed. He turned the car, all while she was scratching at the windows and metalwork, then sped off the track. She followed us. She didn't keep up, obviously, but for a while I thought she was going to. I've never seen someone run that fast in bare feet. The journey back to our base town was almost silent. I spent most of it concentrating on the sound of my own breathing and the rumble of the road. I asked Piet what that was and what we should do. He said the girl was no doubt insane, had a psychotic break or something, but the locals would have immediately thought of her possessed. If she didn't kill herself, the other villagers would within days. He suggested they had all gathered in one house for safety. I saw a lot of fucked up shit in that country. I have two that still bug me years after the fact. One involves Pop Tarts and the other is a cabin out in Oregon. The Pop Tart one still bugs me on a regular basis since it hits me every now and then when I wake up in the middle of the night. I was around 17 and had gotten home from work rather late. I went straight to my room to change and found myself hungry. It was probably around 1 a.m. at this time, and I didn't want to cook anything and make too much noise as I was afraid I'd wake the parents. So when I ventured to my kitchen, I started shuffling through the cupboards looking for a quick fix of snack food to tide me until the morning. Now our kitchen was positioned so that the kitchen door led to our backyard. The door itself was an old wooden door, but my dad had added one of those metal security gates on the outside for good measure. It was one of the security gates where the holes on the door were small enough so that insects could not get through, and therefore we could leave the wooden door open in the summer to allow for a breeze to go through the house. In addition to the security door, my dad had also installed one of those auto security lights. You know, the ones that they go on automatically whenever their motion sensor is triggered. Usually the light would only go on when I would let my dog outside to pee at night. However, on this night, he was already lounging in my room waiting for me to come back with some snacks for him as well. Anyways, getting ahead of myself. So, I was busy creeping through the cupboards and finally hit the jackpot with some Pop Tarts. Knowing my dog, I didn't want to chance him snagging the tart from my hand as I ate it. So I busted those open then and there and ate them raw. I'm hardcore like that. As I'm standing there eating the first Pop Tart, I hear a faint whistling sound from outside. The wood door was open. At first I thought it was the wind, but then I noticed that the whistling was a distinct tune and not random whistling. I didn't know the tune, but I could tell it was from a song. It sounded like a happy and sad song all rolled into one. I know that doesn't make sense, but that's the best way I can describe it. After standing there for about 20 seconds, I decided it must be one of my friends that lives down the block screwing with me. Maybe they were on the other side of the fence whistling there to scare me. Right when I'm thinking this thought, I see the security light suddenly turn on. I quickly looked around the surrounding area but don't see anyone or anything that could have set the light off. And the whistling is still going on. Now, I'm in semi-panic mode. Is it one of my friends? If so, where are they hiding? If it's not one of my friends, then who is it? I'm stuck standing there now and I can't move as I stare outside waiting for something to happen. Nothing does. A minute or so go by, and with the whistling continuing and the light remaining on. Suddenly the whistling gets louder and I see the doorknob to my metal door start to move up and down, and I can see through the metal door to see that there's no one there. The whistling sounds like it's right outside now, and the doorknob keeps moving like someone is trying to get in. The security light is on, so I have a clear view of the front door and know for sure there's no one there. Fuck the Pop-Tarts. I dropped the box and jetted back to my room, slammed and locked the door, and hid under my blankets with my bat and my dog. I never went out of the kitchen at night after that.
Big up to all my peoples. I done dug into my bag of tricks, came up with some different skits. Not your average mafia, I be on some different shit. You know I'm pimping shit that make you use your mind. So if you can fill in the blanks, do it when it's time. Come on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Feel like I'm in hell, but I wish I wasn't. Yeah, you got it, now knock it while I rock it. I stick plugs in the socket and money in my... Yo, I get psychotic when you try to diss my staff. No props for your block, so you could just kiss my...